Hello Canada, welcome back to another edition of the Canadian Citizen Journal. I'm your host, alias Tagai. Well, I have to apologize, I haven't been doing a couple morning episodes. I've been really busy. I've actually been doing my own polling. I will let you know how that's going. I'm 3.5 provinces in. One thing I can tell you is that 95.5% of the most vile creatures in this country are Liberals. What I have heard on the phone is bad. It's actually an embarrassment because it's completely un-Canadian. And another thing is I have gained a lot of respect for pollsters. And I want to make another apology as well. I'm still getting a lot of people who are asking questions for me to post links to places out west for real estate and for job opportunities. I'm going to probably do an episode on this, and I will start to try and talk a little wee bit about it. I'm still doing a little bit more investigations because there are a lot of towns as well that have real estate. And I'm trying to find out a way in order for how to kind of understand the fundamentals of how a town works. I got a few more conversations that I need to have with a few different towns that I've been talking to about to see exactly where the legalities and stuff fall, because without real estate agents and all the rest of that. So anyways, you have to bear with me. So I do apologize about that. I will try to post like I said, links to real estate, because theoretically, not theoretically, I am convinced that Western Canada, run for the hills. Run for the hills. Get out as quick as you can. And for all of you who are thinking and humming and hawing in the rest of Canada, now's the time to flee, because the way it's looking, this party is going to end up with the majority government through either having people cross the line from the NDP. We already know Melissa May, Drunk May, will do anything to stay in power and help push this lie of the green agenda. I mean, the fact that they are saying that the gas of life, CO2, is bad. Literally, they're sentencing humanity to death. If they're going to try and start capturing carbon and cutting the carbon out of the air, we're done as a species. We're done. Scientifically proven. Sorry, take it to the press. That's what it is. It is what it is. There are a lot more other contaminants that are way harder on the environment that these people should be talking about, but they don't care. They don't care. They don't care about you. They don't care about the environment. If they did, they would have got our gas to market and cut global emissions down by over 7%. That's what they could have done in this 10 years, but they didn't. They didn't do it. They didn't take ours down, and they've allowed the rest of the world to just keep pushing toxins into the air. So life goes on. Now I want to start off with this Trumponian style Carney New Liberal propaganda. This is a propaganda piece. This is what they do. This whole order that he said he signed off for your tax cut. I'm going to play this first, and then we're just going to give it a real quick breakdown. Let's hear it, Carney.
Canadians sent a clear message that they need to see improvements in their affordability. We promised a middle-class tax cut leading to over $800 of savings for two-income households. We're acting today on that so that by July 1st, as promised, that middle-class tax cut that will reduce taxes for the 22 million Canadians who pay federal income taxes, that tax cut will take into effect. We're acting on affordability as we look to build out this economy. It's my pleasure on behalf of the Cabinet to sign this order to deliver that tax cut.
Yeah, so that's all bullcrap. First of all, it has to go through Parliament. So, okay, everything he just did, that's all propaganda, period. It's all propaganda. And now, secondly, about that tax cut. They very well may give it to you. More than likely, they are going to give it to you. The problem being the first thing on his agenda is the increase in the hidden industrial carbon tax. The second that goes through, that little wee percentage, $400 per person, $800 a couple, will be ate up in less than 4 months, if my math is correct, which I'm pretty good at math, and so far, I've been bang on the money. And I always try to be conservative. So this tax cut, suckers, you're going to pay way more, because the first thing on this man's agenda is this carbon system. His taxes, they're going in. He's going to try and hide it because he doesn't want the people to know, because we realized over the last how many years, 5 years, on how detrimental it really is on society and what it's caused. It's caused everything. Every issue we have today, a percentage of that issue can be traced back to the carbon tax. So yeah, we're in trouble. Like I said, run. Now we're gonna get on to this interview with Vashi. Now, there's a few people out there that are independents and they like Vashi, and you know what? She's probably a super nice person. I don't hold anything against her as a person, but as a journalist, very weak. She's just she works for the propaganda arm. Every now and then she does seem to come out and kind of hold truth to power, but she actually doesn't. She doesn't, and you'll see it's in these ebbs and curves. It's like for some reason they need to show some type of real journalism, and then she gets out there and she pretends she's a bulldog. But by the end of it, you go, wait a minute, the guy never answered any questions. She never really held him to account. So what good was it? Propaganda media, and we see that again here today, which I'll prove it to you. And through this interview, I'm going to show you all the pressers that happen with all of the New Liberal Party, and just do a little bit of fact checking along the way. So without further ado, propaganda television. Here you go.
I want to talk about something a bit more conventional when you talk about big projects, and that is around energy. And in particular, when you said during the campaign you want to make Canada an energy superpower, do you mean you want Canada to export more oil and gas?
Well, that is an element of it, but it's not the element of it. So there are multiple elements. When you're a superpower, let's look at America. America is a superpower. It is a superpower because it has a strong economy. It is a superpower because it has a strong military. Arguably, it is also a superpower because it has soft power, has cultural, the American influence is multiple, and all of those aspects contribute to it. So when I talk about being an energy superpower, I always say in both clean and conventional energies. So what does that mean? Yes, it does mean oil and gas. It means using our oil and gas here in Canada to displace imports wherever possible, particularly from the United States. It makes no sense to be sending that money south of the border or across the ocean. But yes, it also means more exports, without question. But it doesn't stop there. That in and of itself doesn't make us an energy superpower. We can be an energy superpower, and we have all the components in nuclear, in hydro, in potentially in carbon capture and storage, which is going to be one of the determinants of industrial, of competitiveness and productivity in a number of sectors. So what are we doing to build out all those aspects in our economy? What are we doing today? And look, if I were, I shouldn't classify myself, but a conventional politician might say, you know what we should be judged by is whether or not we approve one pipeline. Right? And that's going to make us an energy superpower. And that is a type of objective that you can define and you can point to that is progress, but it doesn't accomplish the bigger goals. And it's not at the level of what Canada is capable of. We need to do multiple things at the same time in order to build this base so that we are creating wealth and competitiveness, better lives for Canadians for generations. So we're going to be very ambitious across a range. That's why we're not asking for one nation-building project. We're asking for nation-building projects, and we are going to move as rapidly as possible on as many of them as possible.
I think if I'm accurately representing the point of view from people whose livelihood depends on the conventional energy sector, it's not that they're asking you like, that's it, that's the be-all, end-all. It's that they want to know where conventional energy fits into your ambitions. And it's not just because, if I may, not just because of the record of the previous government, it's because of you yourself, your book Values, for example, which extensively talks about a reorientation of the market around the climate imperative. I think Canadians had been asking throughout the campaign, and now, like, is this Prime Minister Mark Carney of values, or is it the Prime Minister of the campaign? Like, are you...
So this is where I got to, and this is how, this is what reporters do that are really bad reporters. Like, they say she's a journalist, she's not, she's a reporter. He pretty much states that democracy and capitalism is evil and should be purged from the globe. He is a socialist hardcore. He thinks that people like him should be able to tell you what to do, what to eat, where to live, like everything. He pretty much states that in his book, as well as this insane ideology that carbon is bad. Yeah, the stuff that I feed in my greenhouse to help my plants. The greening of the earth that we're actually seeing right now, where desertification, what they were scaring us about, is actually reversing. Yes, carbon isn't bad. There are a lot of other toxins that come out of smokestacks. Carbon is the least of our worries. Sorry, just the truth, just the facts. That is the truth. We'll just let it go. Oh, so yeah. Anyways.
You're going to build that pipeline if the consensus exists.
First off, I've said repeatedly yes, first point. Secondly, that because I understand the need for that consensus, I'm a prime minister who can help create that consensus. You can't create a consensus on your own, but you have to drive processes that bring province.
So now it's a consensus. Do you see? He's already starting to backtrack. He said he was going to get pipelines built. That's why a lot of swing voters went back to, it was all scare tactics, and he was actually going to get pipelines built. Now he's saying he needs a consensus. Isn't that what the consensus was? You were promising to get pipelines built. Now he needs a consensus. Goodbye. There's, like I said in a previous episode, and I'll say it again, he's going to say, oh yeah, we're gonna get this pipeline built, but he's not going to change any of the legislation that's already been thrown out of court as being unconstitutional, like 69, Bill C-69. And he's not going to allow it to come to fruition, to completion. He's going to throw every single thing he can to stop it, which when I let Guy Beau talk here in a little wee bit, we'll break down as well.
Along, bring the private sector in. Remember, I've got extensive experience. This is not just a concept to me. I have been involved in major energy projects for over 3 decades in the private sector. So I've got that experience, bringing the provinces, working with Indigenous partners, putting in place, as we have, billions of dollars of financing for those Indigenous partners, bringing in somebody like Tim Hodgson, who, when he was CEO of Hydro One, was one of the only major corporations to have a major Indigenous partnership program that actually worked. So we're bringing the components in. We have to deliver. Let me make another point, because I appreciate that you've read my book very carefully. At the core of the way I talk about the energy transition is the future of, including about Canada being an energy superpower, is the future is low risk. Canada's low risk is a business investment place. Low cost. We're getting the cost down, including the oil sands. The marginal production is low cost, and low carbon. All three of those come together. We have the ingredients of all that. Let's get together and move on it. And it takes more than just one pipeline in order to accomplish.
Now, as for the Indigenous out there, I urge, if you're a new viewer or already a subscriber, to check out my previous episodes. He will abide by the law, but he will twist it, deviate, and do everything in his power, backdoor dealings, investor schemes, buys, bribes, payoffs, whatever it takes to get what he wants through. And if you don't believe me, like I said previous episodes, ask the Indigenous down in Brazil what they think of this man and Brookfield, especially this man. How they, just took land from the Indigenous, how they were, bribing and paying off people to build dams, fake dams that are still filling with water, flooding Indigenous land that they didn't want. No Indigenous wanted. Now they have nowhere to live. They've lost all of their lands. They've lost all of their rights. They're starving, forced to move into the cities, living under poverty. So he could have a fake dam that he could say, hey, we own another hydro dam, so that's more carbon credits for us. Now we can buy more oil pipelines in other countries other than Canada. Yes. This is the reality. Previous episodes, people. We'll let it go. Keep going.
I understand that point, but I think, like in your book, multiple occasions, for example, you talk about the merits of a carbon tax. And now we have a different Prime Minister, Mark Carney, who says, the first thing I did in this very room was get rid of the carbon tax.
Got rid of the consumer carbon tax,
correct,
which is different than
the industrial side, but it's still a...
Hey, we're just going to pause it right there. Now, carbon tax, huh? Carbon tax. Let's see. the New Liberal Party, right? This is New Liberals. They're all New Liberals. We're going down a completely different path. Yes, we are. This is the presser. Here's your New Liberals.
Premier Smith says that she's still concerned that you're part of cabinet and also the new selection of Mr. Buzyn for the environment minister. She says it's too close of a tie to you. What do you say in response to that?
I think we will have to agree to disagree with Premier Smith. We think that protecting the environment, fighting climate change is important. Lots of Canadians believe that as well. It was a central element of our platform, and we will make good on our commitments.
The Prime Minister last night on TV seemed to open the door to potentially changing the emissions cap or the IAA to get projects built. What do you think of what he said?
Well, these are important conversations that we will need to have in the coming weeks.
Premier Smith is saying that you're anti-pipeline still. What do you say in response to her concerns just broadly about the cabinet? And how do you deal with national unity? How do you address that right now?
So on pipelines, people should remember that we bought a pipeline, Trans Mountain, and that is only used right now about 40% capacity.
That's a lie. Lie. It's at 80% capacity, by the way. Yes. And with the carbon cap that they've put on the province, it doesn't matter. They won't be able to push anymore. These are all of the little laws that these zealots have put through. If you're in the West, run. Become independent as quick as you can. Because if these people get the majority, which it's looking like they're going to, because we already got Drunk May, who will do anything to push this lie of the carbon scam onto you, which gives them one more. And then the lie, which I'm going to expose here in a bit, about how the Liberals have been trying to poach NDP in order to get that majority, so they have a guaranteed 4-year mandate to finish the destruction that they have already started on Canada. Run, Western Canada. Run for the hills.
So I think before we start talking about building an entire new pipeline, maybe we should maximize the use of existing infrastructure. And the Canadian Energy Regulator, as well as the International Energy Agency, are telling us that probably by 2028, 2029, demand for oil will peak globally, and it will also peak in Canada. So
now, back in 2015, he said that it was going to peak in 2019. Back in 2019, he said it was going to peak in 2022. Now here we are in 2025, and he's saying it's going to peak in 2029. Everything this man says is a lie. He has zero scientific data. I've yet to see them pull out any credible science. Ask any scientist that deals, real scientist that deals with this whole climate alarmism, which I am going to do an episode on, and they will tell you straight out, these people are spreading fear, hate, and division. Lies. They are spreading lies. We have at least another 50 years, the way technology is going, of consuming oil and gas. Now, how we get it out of the ground, how we actually convert it into the different types of fuels we use, how we ship and move it, these are all things we can do to help protect the environment. And carbon's the least of our worries. There are a lot other toxins that are involved that we should be discussing. And by the way, water vapor is way up there on greenhouse gases, not carbon. Again, lies. Run for the hills.
So as far as I know, there are no investors right now. There are no companies that are saying that they want to build. And
now, previous episode, I've proven this wrong as well. There were piles of investors waiting to see if the Conservatives were going to win. Back in October and November, when it looked like the Conservatives were going to win a sweeping majority, businesses were getting ready to come up and to start building. The second that the polls started showing the opposite, they started to step back, and now they've closed the door on Canada and they don't want no part. It's not because of how he puts it across that they're not interested because oil and gas is a thing of the past. That's not it. They're down in the States. Drill, baby, drill. That's where they are. They know there's money and profit to be made, as well as cutting the energy costs down to the people who live in those countries. So like that's why the States is just they already have one of the strongest markets in the world. This is just going to take them to an all-time high, and Canada's going to suffer. Businesses won't come because of the unpredictability. Energy East was shut down because they were tired of new obstacles being put in front. They knew the government was purposely trying to do anything possible to stop them from completing what they wanted. So they left. It became economically unviable because of the government, not because of the product. Same thing with tech, the tech frontier. They wanted to. The Indigenous wanted it. It was going to uplift a whole bunch of different Indigenous communities out of poverty. They left. They closed. Why? It wasn't the product. It was the government. They were tired of the government purposely throwing obstacles and then doing this. Blatant lies. Oh, well, it's because it's just not profitable. Lies. It's all lies. And the media, well, at least they asked the question. No, you didn't. You can throw a softball question out, but if you don't correct them and make them actually show you evidence or proof of that, you're not doing your job. This is why you need to support local independent media. Like myself, like, share, and subscribe.
East-West pipeline. And as you know, these things are built by companies, not governments.
Not governments. I thought you just said you bought a pipeline. Unbelievable. Hypocrisy.
Are you against the construction of pipelines in Canada? What I'm saying is that we already have an infrastructure in place that's not even at 50% capacity. So before we think about building
It's at 80%
new
capacity.
infrastructure, we should maximize the use of what already exists. And as I said to your colleague, the Canadian Energy Agency and the International Energy Agency. Yes, but the Prime Minister is saying, well, let's build pipelines, and you're
No, that's not what he's saying. See what media does? That's a lie. Now the media's lying. That's not what he said. He's already backpedaling on it.
pushing the brake on that. Well, what I'm saying is that the international and Canadian energy agencies are saying that demand for oil will peak by 2020.
He just keeps repeating the same verbal diarrhea. Let's get back to this horrible
portion of the carbon tax scheme that existed in this country.
How much of the resources did that consumer, how much of the emission reduction did that consumer
9%.
Yeah, well, it's actually 6, but if you extrapolate it out to 2030,
If it went
it's 9.
as far as it was supposed to go.
Now, again, this is lies. Vashi should have known better. Vashi should have said, well, to be honest, 0. Because your government hasn't given all of the information for us to actually examine. Even the parliamentary officers have come forward and said, I can't tell you because I'm not privy to that information. The Liberal Party will not give us all the information. They've been hiding it because it's done 0. And the best they could do by hiding all of this is show 6%. 6%. Now, was that worth the inflation, the housing, the choosing between the rise in food prices, heat and eat? Was it worth it? Was it really? Do your job, Vashi.
It's not nothing.
It's not nothing. It's not much. It's not much. And we can do much better with different approaches, including collaborative approaches, which is what I'm looking to do. And look,
how can you be collaborative?
If you want a simple answer on will I support building a pipeline? Yes, that simple answer. I've given that multiple times. But I don't stop at that. I don't stop it. For example, if you want a simple answer on how do I make homes more affordable, I could just say, we're going to cut GST on homes. But that doesn't solve the problem. Just doing one pipe, it's good. Don't get me wrong, it's good. That's a positive thing, and working collaboratively in order to happen. But it's not enough. It's not enough to make Canada an energy superpower. It's not enough to build our full potential. It's not enough to truly get incomes growing across the country. We can do much more. We are going to be very, very ambitious. Build big, build bold, build now.
It does speak, though, to what people in Alberta and Saskatchewan who didn't vote for your party are worried about, right? They are worried that it is the Mark Carney of values, it is the Justin Trudeau government, and the reason I ask about that is against that backdrop, right? You are still saying you're going to keep C-69 in place. You are going to keep the emissions cap in place. They view that as evidence of something. They view that, pardon me, as evidence of something that runs counter to what you're saying right now.
What I've said very clear. Look, I am a pragmatist. I go over and over on this, and I really am. I'm interested in results. So the point of building a pipeline, the point of building out carbon capture is to get the results, to get those barrels to the market, to get carbon down. You can do both. We have the capability to do more. And we have the capabilities financially, from a technological perspective, in terms of the companies. Federal government can play a role. The province of Alberta, obviously other provinces, Indigenous people have to come along for almost all of these projects in order.
Now, for the Indigenous people out there, previous episodes, this man is the enemy of the Indigenous. Ask the Brazilian Indigenous. This guy used every means possible to avoid the law through payoffs, bribes, and all the rest that he could possibly do to go behind the Indigenous people's back and build a dam on a spot where there was no real feasibility, and it's still filling up, and it's going to take a long time, just so he could claim to have, look, I can take carbon credits off of this dam. And each day, each month, each year, more and more of this land is being flooded that was Indigenous land, where they grew crops, they harvested. This is where they lived. Gone. The same guy who is part of and not saying anything about them dozing a protected rainforest to build a road to a brand new facility they're going to build for one of their COP environment meetings, for all of these multi-billionaires to go and say, look how green we are, and in the meantime they've cut a huge swath through a protected forest to build a road to get there. And guess what the Indigenous people who live along that road are doing? Well, now that they've got a road cutting them off from either side, let alone the diversity and the animals and the ecosystems that are destroyed, they're forced to go to the city and live homeless, poor, broken. That is who your prime minister is. And it's not just Brookfield that these Indigenous hate. It's this man by his name, as well as the roads that he has purchased through his company, in order to purposely tax the road to stop certain things from happening and control markets, which they're still being sued for. Again, previous episodes. This man is evil.
For them to actually work. And what I'm putting on the table is, okay, let's go. Let's not talk about this. Let's roll up our sleeves. Let's focus in on specific projects, and let's work on them together. Now, very constructive, sorry if I may, constructive conversations with Premier Moe in this vein, also with Premier Smith in this vein. So the next stage of that is to sit down across premiers and other groups and start to refine that list and move forward. And we will change things at the federal level that need to be changed in order for projects to move forward.
Does that include C-69 or the emissions cap?
It could include both. Yeah, absolutely could include both. But I'm not going to do it conceptually. I'm going to do it on specifics. Do it for moving forward. And that's the point. The test is Canadians deserve results, not rhetoric and not talking past each other. And one of the things that...
it's funny he says that because he's already cut her off how many times? This man doesn't care. He doesn't care.
I feel very strongly about and understand, I think from both being in the private sector and working across government over the years, is you can't get results unless you work across partners. So it's the federal government, it's the provinces, it's the companies, it's Indigenous peoples. You can't get result if you just say, we're not going to have environmental assessment. The Harper government tried that approach, effectively tried that approach. It doesn't work. You get tied up in court. So what you have to do...
Sounds just like Trudeau, eh? He's bringing up Harper. There's no difference. This is Trudeau 2.0. We went from a foot soldier to the general. Run for the hills, Canada. Western Canada, run for the hills.
Is to work together for an efficient and effective environmental assessment process. What we have clearly signaled, and we've been absolutely clear, I've been very clear about this, is we will rely on provincial environmental assessments as appropriate. That is a huge shift in approach that potentially unlocks a series of projects. You have to do other things at the same time. Again, roll up our sleeves, sit down, map out what needs to be done. We've got the team here, and we have the will to do it.
I'm already getting the wrap sign, and I apologize. I know your time is very limited.
So his new team he's talking about. Let's go over his new team. So this is his new team. Tell me, do you recognize any of these names? Let's see. Tim Hodgson, Christa Freeland, Patty Haidu, Julie Duberson, Joanne Thompson, Gregor Robertson, Rebecca Chartrand, Rebecca Alty, Melanie Jolie, Menandu Sidhu, Dominic LeBlanc, Heath McDonald, Evan Solomon. Do they sound new to you? Do they really? Do they? Yeah, this is his new Build Canada. I mean, he voted for the same thing. Trudeau had an IQ of 86. It wasn't him that was making the policy decisions. It was the cabal, which this man, who you just elected as your prime minister, sits at the head table of. Nothing is going to change. Nothing is going to change.
I wonder if I could ask very briefly on how Parliament will work, on what you just mentioned. Have you spoken to Pierre Poilievre about seeking support from the Conservatives in advancing parts of that agenda?
Mr. Poilievre and I spoke after the election, immediately after the election. He congratulated me, and I signaled to him that if he was, as he is, seeking a by-election, I would call it as soon as I'm allowed to do that. So that was the conversation that we've had. He's not the leader of the opposition, as you know, at the moment. So conversations, obviously, at least in the near term, would be with Mr. Scheer.
Have you explicitly had any conversations with anyone from any party about crossing over to help form a majority? No.
Blatant lie. She could have called him out on that. Does she? No. Propaganda media. The NDP have already said that the Liberals have been trying to poach NDP. They've already said it. Clear as day. That is a blatant lie. Vashi, do your job? No, that's okay. I'm just part of the propaganda arm.
You called Donald Trump transformative. Did you mean transformative in a good or bad way?
Yin and yang. There's both.
There's both?
I said what I said. He is. What matters for Canadians is that the relationship with the U.S. has changed. I've been clear about that. Clear about that for months. I think others were very slow to recognize that. I think it's now increasingly understood. Secondly, that it has bigger ramifications than just the U.S. The way the global economy is working is changing. We need to change. Working with President Trump, working with his team as possible, sovereign nation to sovereign nation, that's what I'm pursuing.
Do you plan to...
Again, check my previous episode. Trump wants the Liberal Party to stay in power. He wants them to stay in power. While he's down there crushing every single green ideological zealot out of existence, freeing up the market down there, he knows that by keeping this party in, it's going to help him. It's only in his favor. Previous episodes, it's there. You voted for Canada's demise.
To renegotiate USMCA, can you trust him as a partner?
The sequencing, we'll see about the sequencing. I think the revealed preference of the U.S. is working on some of these sectoral aspects before broader trade deals. It is an advantage to us that USMCA exists. It is not right that it's being violated, but it is still an advantage that it exists, and we intend to make the most of our advantages in these negotiations.
Do you trust him?
I will work with him and negotiate with him, yeah.
But do you trust him?
Look, my answer is my answer.
Okay, I'll leave it on.
Now, we're just going to do a really quick Trudeau comparison here. So, 9, ahs 41. It says 7. Stutters 19. And cut off a woman in a conversation before. It's the same guy. It's the same party. Nothing's changed. Now, let's just expose how bad this is going to get. This is going to get bad. This is the new housing minister, Gregor Robertson.
Affordable housing. Do you think prices need to go down? No, I think that we need to deliver more supply.
Should housing prices go down? No.
Make sure the market is stable. It's a huge part of our economy. We need to be delivering more affordable housing. The government of Canada has not been building affordable
I think his toupee is on a little sideways.
housing since the 90s, and we've created a huge shortage across Canada. That's where the big need is right now, and I'm very encouraged that the Prime Minister and our commitment right now in government is the double construction and focus on the affordable side.
Right, so the other government wasn't doing it, but this government is. So the same government that you're working for right now, which is the same government that was in before. Okay, well, let's just expose this guy for who he is. Now, this guy, unbelievable. This was a report that came out a while ago. Now, you can't make this stuff up, man. The reality. Again, media not doing their job. Andy Yan, the analyst who exposed Vancouver's real estate disaster. Hated by politicians, speculators, and money launderers, Andy Yan's data on Vancouver housing has earned him the right to say, "I told you so." Now, this goes on to just pretty much talk about where he came from and how, of course, the guy we just showed you, the new housing minister, called him a racist. Yes, called this guy a racist. For pointing out that the Chinese CCP and drug traffickers and money launderers were involved big time in the real estate problem happening in Vancouver. So let's just dabble a little wee bit on this. Yan found buyers with non-Anglicised Chinese names had picked up 2/3 of the 172 houses sold over a 6-month period beginning in September 2014 in Vancouver's posh West Side neighborhoods. Contrary to public perception, however, the buyers weren't just showing up with a bag of cash to make their buys. Some of Canada's biggest banks were in on it. Roughly 80% of the deals involved a mortgage, and half of those mortgages were held by two banks, CIBC and HSBC. Canada's banks have mastered the manipulation of clandestine back channels around China's currency control regulations, the same routes that well-connected Chinese multimillionaires have been using to shift up to $1 trillion worth of yuan out of China every year. What wasn't clear about what was happening on Vancouver's west side, however, was who the real buyers were exactly. The new homeowners? Most commonly stated occupation, drumroll, housewife, or homemaker. $1 million properties, housewife and homemaker. Tell me the banks aren't involved in on this. Fast forward 3 years, the weirdness of that Yan documented in Point Grey, Dunbar, Kerrisdale, and Shaughnessy has rapidly spread southward and eastward, decoupling the bonds, linking incomes with housing values across Burnaby, Richmond, and Coquitlam, all the way out to Surrey and White Rock on the Canadian-U.S. border. Metro Vancouver's real estate market is now a dystopian tableau of panic buying, tax fraud, property flipping, overseas pre-construction condominium sales, stone-cold speculation, and elaborate multiple account money transfer rigmaroles that are the conduit of choice for drug cartel tycoons. Not even the heaviest regulatory hands at the controls of the Chinese Communist Party's surveillance state seem capable of shutting the networks down. As always, I post all my links in the description. I was as far as I know, the first person to do that because I wanted to make sure that all of my viewers got to see just the facts. Just the facts. Sorry, just the facts. Now, I hope you read the entire article. It exposes a lot. But what else was this new housing minister behind? The largest overdose deaths per capita. Yes, and now the Liberal Party and EB's NDP in particular are going after the whistleblower who blew the lid off of how the government is the largest toxic drug dealer in Canada, killing millions and addicting millions to these drugs. They're after the whistleblower. They're not out to fix the problem. No. There's too many hands. There's too many insiders making millions of dollars off of this. You don't go after them. You do what the Liberals do. You go after the whistleblower who exposes them for their corruption. And they're completely backwards, want to cause chaos in Canada. It's disgusting. So, Starko, who slammed the investigation, saying the NDP government is using the RCMP to intimidate its critics and as well as conduct a witch hunt for a whistleblower who should be protected for going public with information of such importance that it forced a policy change. Now, he's absolutely right. So, in other words, this guy exposed the fact of how the government's giving free drugs through a corporation, which there's investors in that corporation that are linked to the Liberal Party, and then that drug company gets kickbacks as well, taxpayer dollars. Then the pharmacies, they're taking kickbacks, and they're giving out knowingly to drug traffickers and to people who aren't on the drug but they know will get them hooked onto the drug. They then go into the system. Then these are used in order to, as handouts to get new people hooked and allow for the drug dealers to sell more of their product. It is not only a vicious circle, it is a circle upon a circle upon a circle upon a circle. It is an endless scheme of corruption and just destruction that is at the worst place of all, the numbers with the highest demographics, the highest amount of deaths because of these drugs. Drumroll, Vancouver, where this guy was mayor. And now he's in the federal government. Unbelievable. Let's move on to the rest of the new Liberal Party. Who else have we got here? Oh, right. Can't forget about this guy. He's such a hard-working guy. I mean, he's so hard-working that every file he's had, he has destroyed. He has destroyed everything this man touches. Withers and crumbles. But you want to know why? Well, just take a listen to his work ethic.
Not to run again. You said it was because you wanted to spend more time with your family, and you said when you were coming back again that you worked out a deal with Mr. Carney that you'd be able to, have a little bit more work-life balance. How does that jive with your new role?
Well, I expect what you're going to see is when the House of Commons is not sitting, given the nature of the portfolio, a lot of the stakeholders we have are less interested in having you attend groundbreakings, the openings of new buildings that you may have funded, and are quite accustomed to having meetings virtually. So I anticipate during constituency weeks I'm going to be based in my hometown a little more than I was before. There may be an opportunity, depending on what's going on in the House, to avail myself, not all the time, of course, but once in a while, of the virtual abilities to participate in the House of Commons proceedings. So we're going to figure some of this out as we go. I'm very proud to have the support of my family to come back.
Blah, 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 blah. In other words, he doesn't care. He doesn't do his job anyways, because everything he touches turns to crap. And he doesn't care. Why? Because propaganda helps him get elected again. Yeah, so there you go. So for all you people, you voted in that for your representative, you reap what you sow. Run, Western Canada, run. Oh, the rest of the new cabinet. New Liberal Party.
What are their contingency plans? The Prime Minister says we always have to plan for the worst.
By the way, I've been warning about the auto sector. If you are a new viewer, a new subscriber, I urge you to check them out. I have been bang on warning people about this, and it's sad that I'm not growing fast enough to have actually got heard by a lot of the people in the auto sector. Goodbye, auto sector. You guys have, you've allowed your votes, your area, because of lack of knowledge, to understand you have voted yourselves out of your generational jobs. This new EV mandate, it sounds like will be pushed up from 2035 to 2030. That means goodbye combustion engines. This is why, again, previous episodes, the CEOs are routing and rooting for Trump. This is why they are not going to be building here in Canada and why they are fleeing to the States. It is not in your business interest to put any more money into a country that is going to ban your product in 5 years. Kind of a really dumb mathematician if that's what you think is, oh no, they're going to stay. We're auto industry. We're going to vote Liberal because they're going to build EVs. Wait a minute. They're shutting you down. Hello. Goodbye, auto industry. And the EV system, the entire EV system, the entire market, batteries, cars, all of it has tanking and has cost the taxpayers more than any other industry in Canadian history. Flushed down the toilet. The only carry-on they are interested in is getting more tax dollars, which then causes more interest, causes higher food, causes higher housing, lower unemployment. Hello. Listen to her. You, if you are in the auto industry, should be shaking in your boots.
Auto plants move south. Can they be retooled? Can you redevelop the auto plants?
So I've already been in contact with the CEOs of GM, Ford, and also Stellantis. My goal is to be able to have good conversations with them before the end of the week. My message to the workers in the auto sector is we're there for you. We know that there's anxiety. We know you're concerned about losing shifts. We know we were concerned about losing your jobs, and we will always fight for your jobs. Notwithstanding that, we also have a $2 billion worth of support for the industry, the auto industry, the steel and aluminum industries that are affected by the trade war. One of my first decisions will be also to make sure that the workers can benefit from these investments.
So there you go. So, guaranteed that you're going to get $2 billion worth of the rest of Canada's tax money for a short period of time while you collect EI because you voted yourself out of a job, so that these people can then get you jobs at minimum wage, washing solar panels off, scraping the snow off. Well done, Eastern Canada. In the meantime, the West was screaming, trying to warn you guys about this. What they've done to the West, they're going to do to you too. It's coming. Well, guess what? It's here. So congratulations. I hope you enjoy. How did they put it? There's great janitorial jobs. I hope you enjoy your new non-generational, complete demised future. Well done. I don't necessarily blame the person in general. I blame propaganda. These people need to see the truth. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Especially if you know somebody in the auto industry. They would love to see those previous videos, although now it's too late. But still, a well-informed public can change where we are today. Run, Western Canada, run. Who else we got for a new cabinet? Let's take a look. Oh! Patty. Or sorry, Anita. Mrs. Anita.
Food and aid to Gaza. What do you think of that decision? And is the Canadian government doing anything to stop that?
We cannot allow the continued use of food as a political tool. The Prime Minister has been very clear about that. Over 50,000 people have died as a result of the aggression caused against the Palestinian and the Gazan people in Palestine, and using food as a political tool is simply unacceptable, and we need to continue to work towards a ceasefire. We need to ensure that we have a two-state solution, and Canada will continue to maintain that position.
Now, like I have said before, I had a couple very close Palestinian friends that I worked with. They warned me and showed me the reality of what was happening. They wanted pretty much what's going on right now. They wanted everybody to be removed out. They wanted the entire place bombed and cleared of all of the hidden tunnels and assets and munitions that Hamas has done in the past 40, 50, 60 years. And then they wanted very strict, we'll just say re-entrance for the Palestinian people, like facial recognition, as well as lie detectors. And then certain people watched closely because they never made it home. They went back to rescue their families. They took time off of work from where we were together to go rescue their families, and they never were seen again. Now, everything that this woman is saying, she's either dumber than a sack of shit. Pardon my French. She's either dumber than a sack of nails, or she's just lying. Now, personally, I think she's just lying. She's dumb too, but she's just lying. She really is. And I'm going to show you How I know that? Because this is what is going on right now. And again, mainstream won't show you this because they're passing a narrative. So this was a hidden area where Hamas was hiding food, and anybody that talked about it or tried to get at it was disappeared, we'll just say. And finally, they actually were able to get there. And you'll notice in the video, some people are hiding their faces because what Hamas does is they find these recordings, they take pictures, then they seek those people out and they disappear them. This is the storage facility where they were hiding food that was supposed to go to the Palestinian people. The Palestinian people have tried many times to march to get on the news, screaming that they want Hamas out of their country. They didn't get the media. They didn't get any propaganda time. Now those same people are being hunted for protesting Hamas. This is only one video, people. We can go on and on. See them beating the man? Oh, they're not done yet. This food, this air package. Whoop, that's the end of that one. Yeah, that's Hamas. That's what they're doing to Palestinians. It's not. It is not, may I repeat, the Israelis. The Israelis are trying to fix this mess. That UNRWA, which again, my friends had told me and showed me what UNRWA was literally helping Hamas in every which way possible. And then this is what they do to a lot of the food. So then they take the food, they rewrap the food, and they stuff it full of, yes, so that they can transport it amongst civilians while they hide, and then they use those civilians, especially women and children, in order to set up places to attack Israel. I ain't done there yet. Then there's these people who are running for food. They did an airdrop. They're running to go get the food. They had to turn around and run away. Why? Because Hamas opened fire on them. They're starving because of Hamas. Oh, we're not done. Here, Hamas took the trucks. In fact, there's video evidence saying that the drivers that actually went and picked up the food across the border were actually part of Hamas. They're so embedded into UNRWA and all the rest of these systems. So then they get the trucks full of food, they turn around, they drive right in, and then after a mile or two, the rest of the Hamas jumps on the back of these vehicles with firearms and protect the vehicles so they can take the food away from the people to feed Hamas. Forget the Palestinians. Why? Anita has no idea what she's talking about. These videos are all out there. Check this out. You'll love this.
Able to buy this today from the northern part of Israel. That's where most of the aircraft has been dropped. And it's from the Department of Defense, the United States of America.
So the Hamas takes it and then they auction it off to the wealthiest people, the wealthiest Palestinians. They're selling what's supposed to be the free food for the people to the people who can afford to. Yes. Everything you're seeing in Palestine is because of Hamas. It has nothing to do with Israel. The protesters you see in Canada, Hamas. They're using our propaganda arm to help push their propaganda. The media, this is how bad propaganda is in Canada, is that people actually think, oh my God, the Israelis are doing so much damage. It's their fault. Zero. Nada. Zilch. it is not Israelis that are doing this. It is Hamas. I am telling you, millions upon millions of footage. Hamas stealing more food and beating civilians. It goes on. A lot of these I can't show you because can't show you that one either because of how graphic they are. Now let's move on to the New Liberals. Oh, I guess this guy's a new one? I'm sorry. I thought this little chihuahua has been part of the party forever. Right. What's new?
The Canadian government priority, and there will be a fall economic statement to follow. So those are really the sequence that you're going to see. Tax cut for the middle class, we're going to be introducing a Ways and Means motions as we enter back into Parliament. We'll table legislation. Then there'll be a throne speech, and then we'll present a fall economic statement.
No budget. No budget, people. Instead, you're just going to get a fall economic statement. No budget. No. They want to put themselves out there. They don't want to have to produce a budget and then have to, have a vote and maybe a non-confidence come up or anything. No. This is what you do. You suppress the democracy and you hide what you're doing from the people. Expect huge deficits. We're already spending $1 billion a week on interest. Yes, $1 billion with a B, a week on interest. And Carney said he's going to spend even more than what Trudeau said he was going to spend this year. Media, crickets. Media should have been talking about this. This is a major issue. No, that's not their job. Their job is to make sure they get their paycheck because they want a piece. They want a piece of that pie. They like making taxpayer money to keep them afloat, to pass fear, hate, and division, and keep the Liberals in power. In other words, there'll be no budget. Not happening. And by the way, it's the exact same thing that they said. It's over and over again. Oh no, we're going to give you tax cuts. And we're going to do this and we're going to do the budget. And then the next year, oh no, we're going to give you tax cuts. We've had 10 years of this. How are you doing out there? Are you better off today than you were 10 years ago? Right. Let's see. More new. We got all these new Liberals. New Liberals. Lots of new Liberals. Here's another new Liberal. Oh, right. Where have we seen her again?
Hi everyone, good morning. What a great day for Canada. The Prime Minister said yesterday how humbled he was to be taking on his job, and that's exactly my feeling. I think that this is a critical moment for Canada, a consequential moment. I'm absolutely confident that Mark Carney has already begun to be a consequential Prime Minister for Canada.
Really?
Someone who is committed to building Canada.
Really?
And I'm really grateful and humbled to be part of his team.
I can't watch her. I can't stomach her. What she's done to my heritage is just her family. What she and her same. What she's evil. This person is this person's evil. Her family's evil. They're evil. Unbelievable. By the way, this is now the Minister of Transport. The woman who doesn't own a car and bikes to work, but yet got caught speeding over 140 kilometers an hour down a highway in Alberta. Yes, the hypocrisy. It's the same Liberal Party. They're speaking they're the exact same lies that they've been speaking for 10 years. And guess what? 50% of Canada got suckered in to re-electing this same party. Again, run Western Canada, run. And here is a new one. This one is scaring the bejesus out of a lot of people, especially Western Canada. Another reason to run. Get away, get independent as fast as you can. They are coming for every single firearm. The hunting rifles. Goodbye Indigenous way of life. Goodbye. This is what you elected. Goodbye. They already took away the trapping, and then if you fell into more poverty, they took away your religion. Don't worry, they're not done yet. Oh no, they're not done yet. Then all of a sudden they're starting to take away the resource sector, which was kind of another thing that was starting to help you people out. But they're not done. They want to completely decimate every single aspect of Canadian life. They're coming for your guns.
C'est un lapsus, pardon,
Given
monsieur.
your background, is this at all about hunting, Madame Provost? Just given who you are and your advocacy on
I
guns?
worked in the last 10 years for the Environment Department in Quebec, so I'm very, very proud of this assignation.
Ça prend combien de temps créer un parc national?
Je vais l'apprendre, monsieur.
This is what fascists do. They pick a poster child, somebody so stupid, so dumb, so ignorant, that they can use something that happened within their past life that they have no idea on why it even happened. Which, if you look into the Polytechnique, you can find out that the individual was suffering from mental problems. They're going to use this as a propaganda tool to fulfill their fascist ideology. I pity this woman. She's being used and she is being exposed for being simple. She wants to make sure Canada has no rights at all to feed yourselves, to supplement live, to go about your traditional hunting. They're going to take it away. This is the new face they're using to seal the last 10 years of incompetence that they have done. I am warning Canada, you guys are in really, really big trouble. The West had better flee. Now, I do apologize. I've had a lot of people, and I have said on earlier episodes that I was going to put on real estate and jobs. I've been really preoccupied, especially since these people got reelected. This is scary. I'm probably going to do an actual episode on the real estate and job market, and I will try in the future to post links to different areas throughout the prairie provinces for conservatives who are fleeing from the East and BC to come to the promised land, to what will be. And we're going to need all of that. We're going to need all the extra votes in order to make it happen and speed up the process. Because if this party gets the majority that they're trying to get, Canada's done. What it was to be Canadian is already almost faded away. This next 4 years, if they get their majority and it seals the 4-year fate of Canada, it doesn't give the West a lot of time. You got to get on it. Run for the hills, people. Run for the hills. I hope you enjoyed the episode. Yeah, propaganda. Let me just tell you, they are what they are. It's a scary, scary thing. I hope you enjoyed the episode. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. And if you are, please punch that notification bell so you don't miss any future episodes. Until the next time, you've been watching the Canadian Citizen Journal. I'm your host, Alias the Guy. Stay informed.